Commander Zethkar of the Hegemony Fleet studied the tactical display with growing unease. The blue-green world below them looked so peaceful, so ordinary. Just another primitive world ripe for subjugation, according to their intelligence reports. The humans had barely achieved interplanetary flight. Their weapons were crude chemical rockets and basic energy beams, and their political systems were fragmented into competing nation-states. It should have been simple. "Sir," Lieutenant Vextal reported from the communications station, "we're receiving another transmission from the planetary surface. They're asking us to surrender." A ripple of amused clicks echoed through the bridge. Zethkar himself couldn't suppress what passed for a smile among his species. These humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Perhaps both. "Ignore it," he commanded. "Begin Phase 1 of the pacification protocol. Target their major population centers with warning shots. Let them see what true power looks like." The Hegemony had perfected this strategy across 100 worlds, a demonstration of overwhelming force followed by demands for unconditional surrender. Most species capitulated within hours. The few that didn't were systematically broken until they begged for the mercy of servitude. But 3 days later, Zethkar was no longer smiling. The humans had not surrendered. Instead, they had done something unprecedented in the Hegemony's 1,000-year expansion. They had adapted. The warning shots that should have devastated their cities had been absorbed by hastily constructed shield generators, crude things cobbled together from their civilian technology, but effective enough. When the Hegemony launched their first real attack, expecting the humans to crumble, they found their orbital bombardments intercepted by swarms of modified spacecraft. "Sir," Vextal's voice cracked with disbelief, "they've weaponized their cargo vessels. They're ramming our frigates." On the display, Zethkar watched in horror as human ships, converted mining vessels, passenger transports, even pleasure craft, hurled themselves at his fleet with suicidal determination. They shouldn't have been able to penetrate Hegemony shields, but the humans had learned to overload their primitive fusion reactors, turning each ship into a massive bomb. "How many ships have we lost?" Zethkar demanded. 17 frigates. 3 cruisers and—" Vextal paused, checking his readings again. "Sir, they just took out the dreadnought Eternal Dominion. A human garbage scow somehow breached its deflectors and detonated inside the hangar bay. This was impossible. The humans were supposed to be a Type 2 civilization at best. They shouldn't have been capable of mounting any meaningful resistance, let alone inflicting significant casualties on the most advanced military force in the galaxy. But that was just the beginning. By the end of the first week, human resistance had evolved from desperate ramming attacks to sophisticated guerrilla warfare. They had somehow reverse-engineered Hegemony technology from debris, improving on designs that had taken the alien Confederation centuries to perfect. Their scientists worked with a frantic intensity that bordered on madness, producing new weapons and defenses faster than Zethkar's intelligence officers could catalog them. When the Hegemony tried to land ground forces, they found the humans had turned their entire planet into a fortress. Every city block was a potential ambush, every civilian a potential combatant. The humans fought with improvised weapons that should have been laughably primitive, but they used them with a creativity and ruthlessness that left veteran Hegemony soldiers traumatized. They're manufacturing weapons in their food preparation facilities, reported Major Kithran during one of the increasingly desperate strategy meetings. They've turned children's toys into explosive devices. Their medical personnel are developing biological weapons using their own diseased tissue samples. Zethkar studied the casualty reports with growing dread. In 2 weeks of ground combat, the Hegemony had lost more soldiers than in their previous 5 conquests combined. The humans seemed incapable of giving up, incapable of recognizing when they were beaten. But the moment that truly shattered Zethkar's understanding of warfare came during the 3rd week. The humans, impossibly, launched a counterattack. They had somehow constructed faster-than-light capable vessels in makeshift orbital shipyards, using a hybrid of their own technology, and captured Hegemony systems. The designs were bizarre, inefficient by conventional standards, but they worked. More than that, they were armed with weapons that defied everything the hegemony knew about physics. "Sir," Bextel announced, his voice hollow with shock, "they're targeting our supply lines. Human vessels have appeared in the Kepler system, 17 light-years away. They're winning." The reports that followed painted a picture that would haunt Zethkar's dreams forever. Human ships that could somehow phase through solid matter, weapons that turned gravitational fields into crushing vices, soldiers who had modified their own bodies with cybernetic implants that let them survive in the vacuum of space. When the final transmission came from Earth, Zethkar was no longer surprised by its content, only by its casual tone. "Hegemony, fleet," the human voice said, clear and calm despite the devastating war that raged around them. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We have your remaining ships surrounded. We're prepared to accept your unconditional surrender at this time." Zethkar looked around his bridge at the faces of his surviving crew. They were beaten, not just militarily, but psychologically. They had come here expecting to face another primitive species that would bow before superior firepower. Instead, they had encountered something that challenged every assumption about the nature of warfare, intelligence, and the limits of determination. The humans, it turned out, had no limits. When pushed beyond their breaking point, they simply redefined what was possible. As Zethkar prepared to broadcast his surrender, he realized the terrible truth that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of the small blue world. They hadn't just failed to conquer Earth, they had created something far worse, a species that now knew exactly how dangerous they could be, and the humans were just getting started.